Some betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from family. Chantal was just 19 when her stepsister Lydia shattered her entire world. It was a night she would never forget, a night that started so innocently. Lydia, with a smile that hid a heart full of poison, poured the drinks herself. She was insistent, her voice sweet and persuasive. "Come on, Chantal, just one drink. Let's celebrate." Chantal trusted her. She took the glass, feeling the cool liquid slide down her throat. But minutes later, something felt terribly wrong. Her vision blurred, her limbs grew heavy, and a strange numbness spread through her body. The last thing she heard before the darkness swallowed her whole was Lydia's chilling whisper, "Don't worry. You won't remember anything." When Chantal's eyes fluttered open, she was in a strange room, the air thick with an unfamiliar scent. Panic seized her as she realized a man was asleep beside her. Her clothes were gone, her body ached with a deep, violating pain she couldn't comprehend. She tried to scream, to speak, to move, but her body wouldn't obey. Before she could process the horror, the darkness pulled her back under. By the time morning light streamed through the window, the man was gone. There was no name, no explanation, only a profound sense of shame that she knew, deep down, wasn't hers to carry. She stumbled home, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. Lydia greeted her with a look of fake concern, asking where she'd been. Chantal couldn't find the words. How could she explain something she barely understood herself? 2 months passed in a haze. Chantal tried to push the memory away, focusing on her plans for college, on a future she desperately hoped was still hers. But one afternoon, while sorting through her application forms, a wave of dizziness washed over her and she collapsed. The doctor's words hit her like a physical blow. "You're pregnant." The news was a death sentence to the life she knew. When she tearfully told her parents, they didn't ask what happened. They didn't offer comfort. Their faces hardened with judgment. "You have disgraced this family," her father boomed, his voice echoing in the silent house. They threw her out onto the street with nothing but the clothes on her back. She turned to her boyfriend, the boy she thought she would marry, hoping for a lifeline. He looked at her with pure disgust. "How could you?" He sneered, before turning his back on her and walking away forever. Pregnant, homeless, utterly alone. The world had turned its back on her. Chantal found herself sleeping in shelters, her stomach aching with hunger, her heart shattered into a million pieces. The shame her parents had branded her with followed her everywhere. But then she felt a tiny flutter inside her. A small kick. In that moment, something shifted. This wasn't just about her anymore. She had someone to live for. She gave birth by herself in a small, sterile hospital room, a stark contrast to the loving environment she had always imagined. Holding her tiny son for the first time, she looked into his innocent eyes and whispered, "Your name is Elijah, and I will protect you, always." That promise became her reason for being. For the next 5 years, Chantal's life was a relentless cycle of hardship. She worked grueling cleaning jobs, scrubbing floors until her back ached and her hands were raw. She sold fruit from a small, rickety stall on a busy street corner, enduring the condescending looks and the harsh weather. There were nights when she went to bed hungry, making sure Elijah had eaten every last crumb. She faced humiliation and judgment daily, but she never let it break her. Every time she looked at her son's smiling face, she found the strength to keep going. He was her joy, her world, her entire universe. She raised him with more love and devotion than she had ever received, shielding him from the cruelty of the world she knew all too well. Her own dreams had died that night 5 years ago, but in their place, a fierce, unbreakable maternal love had bloomed. Then one dusty afternoon, everything changed. A convoy of sleek, black cars, the kind you only see in movies, screeched to a halt right next to her humble fruit stall. People on the street stopped and stared. Chantal's heart pounded in her chest. A door opened, and a man in an impeccably tailored suit stepped out. His face was older, etched with lines of worry, but it was a face she recognized from her nightmares. It was him, the man from that room. He walked towards her, his eyes locking onto hers. He saw Elijah, who was hiding behind her legs, and his expression softened with a look of profound recognition and regret. Before Chantal could even react, he did the unthinkable. He knelt down in the dust of the street, right in front of her and her son. "I was drugged too," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been searching for you for 5 years. My name is Prince Kale of Norvaya. The world seemed to spin around Chantal. A prince? It sounded like a fairy tale, too absurd to be real. But the sincerity in his eyes was undeniable. A DNA test was arranged, and the results came back with lightning speed. It confirmed the unbelievable truth. Her son, Elijah, was a royal heir. The news spread like wildfire. The girl who had been cast out, shamed, and left for dead was now the mother of a future king. Suddenly, her parents were at her doorstep, their faces streaked with tears, begging for her forgiveness. Her old boyfriend sent desperate messages, pleading for a second chance. They saw her not as the daughter they abandoned, but as a gateway to royalty and power, and Lydia, the architect of her suffering, was arrested. Justice, it seemed, had finally arrived. But as Chantal stood there, with Prince Kale by her side and her son holding her hand, she didn't feel the triumph she thought she would. There was no smile on her face. She looked at the prince and said quietly, with the calm strength of someone who had walked through fire, "I wasn't saved. I survived."